Hi everybody! Today's ink is Jacaranda, and this is a purplish ink, and it is a standard ink. And here you can see that we have a very light rose colored ink. Here this area, it reminds me of Pelikan Edelstein Rose Quartz. Then here we have a purple ink, similar in tone to Herbert Violet Pensée, if you're familiar with this ink. And here we have a little bit of a very bright blue. This reminds me of Sailor Shikiori Yuki Akari. So it seems that we have 3 types of colors in it. And here we have the swatch card. It looks like this here. See, it has a very lavender tone, very soft, it's very nice. Then the ink looks on the Rhodia notepad like this. I've written this with the Lamy All-Star with a medium nib, and here you see the different nib sizes. The extra fine and fine, I have to say, I mean, you can read it here on the page, but when you have to write larger amounts of pages, I would say that this ink is too light, because it will be harder or will get harder on your eyes if you read back. And it could be that also for you who have not that much of a good eyesight, maybe this ink is too light. The dry times, here you see extra fine and fine, we have 10 seconds. With the medium we have 15 seconds and 20 seconds with the B nib. Also here Lamy Safari style nibs. And here the water resistance, you see here is almost nothing there. So this ink is not water resistant at all. How does the ink look when it is still wet? Here you see a very beautiful light purple. At first I thought that maybe this is a chromo shading ink, but when it is, then I cannot produce it with my nibs that I have used it in. And you see here also maybe when it dries that it gets a little bit more blue. So here we have a little bit more red, and then it gets more and more blue. It reminds me of Herbert Violet Pensée, which does the same thing. So now I show you the ink on the Rhodia Gold Book, the cream colored paper. So this looks like this. You see it is readable even on the cream colored paper. I've written this with the Lamy medium nib. It had an average flow. It was not too wet, but also not too dry. And it behaved very pleasantly in the nib on both papers. And here we have it on the white paper. And you see here that it is maybe, yeah, it looks lighter in tone than on the green colored paper. I'll bring you closer, maybe you can see it here a bit. So I think that with the contrast of the white paper, that this ink looks even more lighter than it is on the cream colored paper. But for my eyes, This is also on the white paper with the M-nib still readable, but it is on the border for me on being okay. Now we come to the ink comparison. Here we have the Diamine ink. Then here I have Rora and Kinga Isatis Tinctoria, but you see here this is much more gray. Gray with a purple tone in it. Then here I have the Violet Pensée, but the Herbert ink is more saturated and is more red in tone. And here the Sailor Shikiori Fuji Sugata. It is maybe in the shading properties similar to the Diamine ink, but where the Jacaranda is on the blue side, the Fujisugata is on the red side. But also Fujisugata and also the Jacaranda, very beautiful shading. Then here I have another Sailor Shikiori ink, the Pozzo Pozzo, but this is more darker in tone and has more blue and gray in it. Then here I have the Neo Sumir, which is much more blue and also more saturated. Then here I have the Visconti Orchard in Blossom, but this is also more red in tone and is more saturated. Then here I have the Cross Violet, which is much more purple and more saturated. Then Kyuiro Soft Snow of O'Hara is more purple, more gray. Diamine Festive Joy from the red Inkvent, it's more saturated and more purple. The same with Memory Lane, although Memory Lane is original shimmer ink. Then here I have Lilac Night, which is more gray and saturated and also has more purple in it. Then here I have Pansy from the flower set, which has more red in it, also more saturated. Same goes for Amazing Amethyst. And here I have the Majestic and the Imperial Purple, which are both more saturated and have more red in it. Then here I have Violet. This has maybe more blue and purple in it. Or I have to say, here in comparison, the Jacaranda looks almost more like a washable blue, which it isn't. Then here I have Diamine Lavender. But Lavender has more red tone and is more saturated. Then here the Murasaki Shikibu from Pilot Iroshizuku. It's also more saturated and has more a purple reddish tone in it. Then I have here the Robert Oster Cosmic Swirl. This is also more saturated, has more blue in it and more violet. Then here the Troublemaker Foxglove. It's also a very soft ink, but and it's a chromo shader, but this ink is more purplish in tone. Then here I have from Sailor the chromo shading ink Fuji, but you see here it's far away from the Jacaranda. And then I also have here the Nekoyanagi and the Nadeshiko. And you see that also those are different. The Nadeshiko is clearly a blue and the Nekoyanago clearly a purple. But what I have to show you here, the Nekoyanagi and the Jacaranda in the writing sample, they come maybe a bit close, but I have to say that the Sailor Manyo Nekoyanagi is still more purple and has maybe more gray in it, So it is kind of similar, but not really. So, and this was the comparison. So I can't show you any duplicate or very similar ink of the Diamine ink. So no price comparison for today. I wish you a wonderful day. See you tomorrow. Bye.